It's me, Mario. Welcome to Batman on Film's Satellite Show, episode number 21. I am BOF senior contributor Ryan Lauer, and with me, because this is a bit of a package deal, I guess, because we're both BOF senior contributors, we're both Ryans, we're both Marios. It's the one great Ryan Haas. Ryan Haas, welcome.
Hello, I'm here. It's a satellite show. Boop.
You and I, we mentioned last time we were on a satellite show together, it was like a year ago, and we talked Toy Story. So
Oh my
it's
gosh.
been a
That
while.
was only hold on. This is one of those things where it's like, oh, it's if that feels like yesterday, but actually that feels like longer than a year ago to me.
Yeah, I mean, technically, I think it was January or February of last year. Yeah,
I thought it was like in November because it was close to your birthday or our birthdays.
technically, I
When's your
guess it
birthday?
wasn't too far.
Your
November.
birthday's in
So there's
November.
another thing.
Yeah.
We're package deal.
Yeah.
November's.
Okay.
But yeah, that was the last time. And we said that was going to be like what part one of our Toy Story, going through everything, and we haven't gotten to
True.
part two. But one of these
True.
days, right?
True. Yes. We got other
Um,
stuff to do. But there's so
we
much
do.
content.
There's so much content, and that's why I definitely wanted to talk about our subject at hand today, the Super Mario Brothers movie. I saw it. I knew I wanted to talk about it, and I feel like it is a complete sin if I don't talk about it with the missing Mario brother, Ryan Haas. Haas, this movie came out. Let's just go through some real quick stats. It came out
Yes.
Wednesday, April 5th.
Yep.
Lit the whole Mushroom Kingdom on fire. Stats for this thing, it made all the money. It's
It's been a crazy box office.
already the highest grossing video game adaptation of all time.
Is
And
it?
that's over 5 days. Yeah, so this is like according to, I always found Luis Fernando on Twitter.
Okay.
He's a box office guru, and his stats, he does the work. But he said that it passed, let's see. It's officially the highest grossing video game cinematic adaptation ever at the domestic box office. So there we go.
Wow. Okay.
Beating Sonic the Hedgehog's $190.9 million entire run in
Entire
just
run
5 days.
already. Okay. So
In
that's
5
your
days.
comparison. Yeah. There's
Yeah.
some other good stats I've got too. From Gitesh Pandya. I probably butchered his name, but he's also another good
Yeah,
Twitter.
he's another good one I like to go to. Go ahead,
I
fire him
mean,
off.
yeah, like so anecdotally, I mean, I've seen the movie at this point 4 times, and I'm going to see it a fifth time tonight.
Yes.
So, and yes, I'm the crazy Super Mario Brothers guy. Hi, I'm Ryan Haas. I'm a senior BOF contributor. But yes, I also, as many longtime BOFers know, I founded and am the webmaster of the Super Mario Brothers movie archive, which is dedicated to the 1993 Super Mario Brothers movie. Which is its own beast entirely, but
That's right.
That film has seen it is the 30th anniversary of that film, and that anniversary is May 28th, so that's very close. And so that being so close to the new movie, like both movies are getting a crazy resurgence. Like if you go to Amazon, they've been flipping back and forth the last couple of days, but on Amazon's like top video sales for all movies and TV, the 1993 movie was number 1, and the new movie was number 2, and they've flip flopped back and forth. And I think last night I looked at it, the new movie was number 1 pre-orders, and the 93 movie was number 2, and that just shows you, like, man, this IP is powerful.
Yeah,
and people have been waiting for it a long time. This is like, people seem to be surprised when Avengers came out in 2012 and did crazy numbers, but it was always like, well, people have been waiting for this for so long, something like this. And I feel like the same thing is kind of echoing here with the Super Mario Brothers movie. It's some people are shocked, but I'm kind of not, because Nintendo has been incredibly reserved with the transmedia use of their IPs ever since the 1993 movie. They have really strayed away um
Yeah.
from other adaptations like this, and so it's a big deal for them. They waited until all the pieces were in place where they could come out with something, to be able to have creative control, but also have a partner in Illumination and Universal who could be the movie experts also,
Yeah.
to leverage that kind of power to do that. So
Well,
I've seen it. So this leads back into the box office stats here.
yeah.
I've seen it 4 times so far, and every screening's been packed,
Hmm.
and not just packed, but enthusiastic crowds that want to be there. You go, it feels very uncommon to go to a theater and people are there with their families, their kids, by themselves, and people are like dressed up, whether
Yeah.
like in full-on Mario costumes or um with just regular Mario shirts and stuff. And I've seen it in a lot of different venues at this point. I've seen it in different states also, because it was a holiday weekend. So I've seen it in a lot of different scenarios and settings and formats and times, and the people going, like, it's like the same every time. So people are very enthusiastic about this thing, despite it not being a hit with critics, which is really interesting.
Well, I'll get to
So
that here
like
in a moment for
so,
sure. But
so but just to speak to the fervor and the money it's making, I like this stat about from Gitesh Pandya was talking about how massive the daily grosses for the movie are.
mhm.
And he had like the top two biggest daily grosses um from last year's two largest movies, which were Avatar 2 and Top Gun 2. Um, and Top Gun had 52 million and 38 million was its highest 2 days. Avatar had 53 million and 44 million as its top 2 days. And Mario has 56 million and 54 million as its top 2 days. It's
Well,
just, I
huh?
mean, it's just to show you, like those movies. Avatar made billions of dollars, and Top Gun made over $1 billion. So it seems like the Mario movie is at least going to hit the billion. We'll see if it trails off, but it's like it's surpassing expectations and
Absolutely.
all that.
I think the biggest thing. So, I mean, as much as you want to or don't want to talk, wherever you lie with the Rotten Tomatoes score, that is a part of the conversation always when it comes to
Hmm.
reviews. Like people look at Rotten Tomatoes, and it's at 57% of critics, so it's just about just over half, 96% with audience score. And if you want to go even deeper into that audience score, it got an A from Cinema Score, which is
Wow,
always
the
that's a good
audience
sign.
indicator. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really good sign. And so I think for 57% for critics, like I looked up Illumination, I think the lowest that they've gone with their movies is like 55, but most of them, they're usually reviewed quite well, for like fun family entertainment, which of course that's the house that Despicable Me built.
Yeah.
Um and so it's not surprising in a sense that that Illumination took on this task of Mario. Um some of the creators behind this. So there's actually three names credited in the director seat. One is Pierre Leduc. He's actually one that's been involved in animation department for I think all the Despicable Me movies and then some of the other movies in Illumination. And then Aaron Horvath and Michael Jelenic, both of
Hmm.
them have ties in Teen Titans Go to the Movies and actually Batman the Brave and the Bold, and even I think it's Michael was involved in the Batman, the animated series in the early 2000s. So they have some really, like, when you look into it, to me it felt like, I don't want to say credible. That's not the right one, but it's like, oh, these are artists familiar like with stuff that I've dove into. And it's a little
Yes.
bit of like for me of like a little bit of excitement of like, oh, I like Teen Titans Go to the Movie. Obviously, we like Batman
And
Brave and
that
the
movie
Bold. Oh,
was
I
was
like the
great.
Illumination movies. Yeah, and
Hmm.
Teen Titans
Hmm.
Go to the Movies was very sharp and quick witted and
Hmm.
everything too. So when you have those three at the helm in the director's chairs, whatnot, that gave a little bit of like more excitement to me in that regard. And then Matthew Fogel is gets the writing credit for the movie. And I mean, he did a Minions movie, he did the Lego movie too. He did his resume doesn't run as long. But those
Yeah.
are like the people behind the scene, and like with Illumination, I think wherever you lean on um quality of the movies, which I pretty much like most of them, there's some that I don't, but the animation always stands out as looking really, really good. And
Yeah.
oh boy, the look of this movie.
It's a gorgeous movie. It really is.
I think there have been some critics that have said that it looked like a video game and that wasn't a good thing, and I can't understand that point of view. And that's not me
Oh,
trying to be
it's that
like
thing. It's
smarmy or
that
anything. I'm
thing
like,
where
I don't
it is
understand.
that it's that interesting thing where like when you watch when a movie has CG and I'm always hate the critical, it looks like a video game, but now like when you say that, it sounds weird because it is a video game. It's
Yeah.
Super Mario Brothers. It literally is a video game.
Yeah, I don't see that as a complaint at all. It looked wonderful. And it's I
Yeah.
mean, like most of the comments that I saw about it, even if some you look at a review that's marked in the, rotten on Rotten Tomatoes, it's like they'll even say this is a great looking movie. Like it still looks good. So the majority, I think the consensus is that it's at least like a good looking movie. And I fully agree with that. I wouldn't have wanted anything to look any different than what I got.
Visually, I have no complaints really. Well, actually, I have one complaint. In
Uh-oh.
one scene,
Drop it.
this is the only complaint, and I've seen the movies 4 times, so it's a consistent nagging thing to me. Um, and I wonder if if they'll do the Marvel thing. I don't know if some other uh CG films do this where they'll actually update or change the film like later on, like for the home release or for even later in the theatrical run, if they'll like fix scenes or whatever. But there's one scene right before the training montage with Peach and Mario, and Peach's head, I think it's just maybe overall, but Peach's head is just way too damn big. Like her head is huge compared to her body. And most of the time it's okay, but in that right before that training scene, it just
One
looks
scene.
comically too big. But really, other than that, I was super impressed with the visuals and the animation in the movie. I mean, they look like the game characters, but they're also quasi stylized to fit this world and homogenized to fit this world too. Maybe I don't know. There's kind of more of a genericized sheen that gets over the brand of Super Mario, but then when you go into individual games, those games have their own little stylistic spin on top of that, and the movie kind of feels like the movie version of that to me. And they redesigned some other characters like Donkey Kong, and the fact that the animation ties in so well with a lot of these characters, and I recognize it a lot with like Toad, especially Donkey Kong, Mario, and Luigi, and the way that the characters are constructed and rigged and animated, they can just like in 2D animation, in traditional animation, the way that their facial expressions or structures change depending on what the scene calls for works a lot really well for me. Like when Donkey Kong appears like very angry versus like in a normal setting, like the way the teeth can get like bigger and more accentuated.
Yeah.
And you can see that replicated in some like key art for other Donkey Kong games too. Especially like early on, like arcade Donkey Kong, because you've got like even for Donkey Kong, you've got like arcade Donkey Kong is the barrel smashing throwing gorilla, and then you've got the more modern Donkey Kong Country Super Nintendo era Donkey Kong that has kind of been the prevalent version, and the movie is kind of a combination of both of those things. And then
So
I
I
saw
guess
that
I
with,
should.
yeah,
I was
go
gonna
ahead.
say I guess I should go ahead and say, because I haven't yet, that I've only seen it the once. I've wanted to see it more than once. I have not been able
Mm-hmm,
to,
mm-hmm.
but it's still pretty fresh in my mind at this point. And like you, the viewing that I went to was pretty full. It was Wednesday afternoon, and I went with some family who also had kids.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a theater full of adults and their kids and stuff like that. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes that can be like a little bit of a oh, I don't want to go to a movie that's full of kids and whatnot. But no, it was like a full on, really fun experience, and the kids really like the kids were having a good time too, and it
Right.
wasn't anything obnoxious or annoying or anything like that either.
Right.
Um,
Anakin,
but my second viewing, I'll check out Princess Peach's head
yeah,
right
yeah,
before
yeah,
the
yeah,
training,
yeah.
just
And
and
just
evaluate.
just yeah. And so, what format was your screening?
Mine was just a regular theater,
Regular
which is
2D.
another reason I want to get to IMAX
Okay, yeah. So
sooner
I'm
rather than later.
so I'll quickly go through my experience. I definitely did a format hop because I want to experience this in as many well, I wanted to for a movie like this, I wanted to experience it in as many formats as possible and hoping it was good enough to support me doing that. And I've enjoyed it enough to have done that so far. So the first day on the 5th, I saw it in IMAX Laser first, and then right after that, I saw it in Dolby Cinema, and then on the Thursday, I saw it at our Raleigh Alamo Draft House for their movie party, which was great because they had props and Alamo Mario and Luigi hats and coin boxes and stuff. And I even donated. I had a 1993 Mario Brothers movie set of stickers, and I donated a open box of that, so people were able to get 93 Mario stuff
Well, look at
with
you.
that. Yes, I know.
What a gentleman.
And they also had a Alamo Mario flagpole photo op thing too. And then on Saturday, I was in Tennessee visiting family for Easter, and we saw it at I think it was called Marquee Cinemas, but it was their large format screen that you'll
Oh,
see in
nice.
other theaters. And it was also a very good experience as well. And then today I'm planning on finally seeing it in 40X, which is in 3D and vibrating seats and wind tunnels and crazy stuff.
Extreme.
Well, I've seen when I saw Shazam 2 in that format, they
Mhm.
played a 40X version of the Mario movie trailer that made the seats move and stuff. And I can already tell like Rainbow Road, and
Yeah.
it's just going to be like a, animated thrill ride.
Yeah, for
So
sure.
I'm
Like
excited for that.
some of those long scenes, instantly in my mind is the Rainbow Road scene. I'll probably might be the highlight for you in that format. So up to this point, then, what was your favorite format to see it in?
Um, I would say IMAX Laser was my first viewing was the best quality, but
Mm-hmm.
honestly, the other three were very close because it
Yeah,
wasn't necessarily a movie like made for the IMAX format. It was just on a giant screen and had good quality and color depth.
yeah.
But I felt like the experience has been pretty good on all the other ones. So I'm actually really interested now to see how it holds up in 3D, to see whether the 3D conversion does anything for it, because
Yeah.
that's usually what it comes down to with these kind of movies, is how well the conversion helps.
IMAX format is always my favorite, whether it's
Yeah.
the true
I've
quote unquote true IMAX or even just
yeah.
the the quote unquote fake IMAX. I don't care. Just
Yeah.
IMAX. It's bigger screen,
That's
better sound. I'm
that's
good
why
with
I've
that.
been started to go an hour and a half away to the theater near me that has IMAX laser, because that feels like a good middle between fake IMAX and Dolby Cinema. It
Hmm.
feels like it's IMAX with a little bit more clarity. And
Gotcha.
so like I saw Creed 3 that way, and it was just absolutely spectacular. So that definitely made me want to go back for Super Mario Brothers movie.
For Super Mario. I just every question box hits, every pipe, the Rainbow Road, the shells, the mushrooms. I just imagine you're just gonna almost get popped out of your seat
Yeah.
for 40X. Plus, we also, I mean, powering in here now. Uh, we have the Luigi to your Mario from the Super Mario
Yes.
Brothers archive. Actually, jumping in here for this part of the conversation. Do you want to go ahead and introduce him? Introduce our special guest here.
Yeah. We have my pal and Super Mario Brothers movie archive confidant here, Stephen Applebaum, with us, joining us on the show. He just saw it, I think, yesterday, so it'll be interesting for him to jump in here and get some initial thoughts
Stephen,
out
welcome.
too.
Yeah, awesome. It's great to be here for the first time.
Yeah. So yesterday, so you and Haas here are the Mario Brothers for the Super Mario Brothers archive, correct?
Yeah, yeah. We've
What
definitely been like a great duo over the years. We've done a lot to push each other to keep this project going.
Can you give us a quick summary, I guess, of what your hype level was for this movie then?
It's really interesting. I mean, personally, I unfortunately saw quite a few spoilers on Twitter. It was a
Ah.
little hard to avoid. So going into the film, I tried to have more of an analytical frame of mind than a fan perspective, because otherwise I might have been a bit disappointed. Um, so it was like the first third, it took me a while to get into it, but by the third act and the finale, I was really pulled in. Um, it really sold me on their vision.
This was it was your first viewing? Like you've seen it once?
Yeah, yeah. Unfortunately, I've only seen it the one time, but I feel like I might see it again in theaters. I've never actually seen another film twice in theaters. This might be the
Oh,
first time.
this would be worth it, I
Yeah,
think.
yeah, it's definitely worth it.
Then you can also check Haas's credibility on if Princess Peach's head is quite large in one scene compared to
That
the
was
rest of the movie.
that was my one visual critique on the whole movie, was the scene right before the training montage. It just felt like Princess Peach's head was just way too big compared to the, it just felt like kind of off to me, off model. But
So,
yeah.
thanks for coming aboard, Stephen, because we're gonna now dive in just a little bit here into like I guess characterizations of these characters that like many of us have loved and played in Nintendo systems for decades. You have Chris Pratt as Mario, Anya Taylor-Joy as Princess Peach, Charlie Day as Luigi, Jack Black as Bowser, which Keegan-Michael Key is Toad. Some fun deeper pulls for the BOF crew here of Kevin Michael Richardson and Reno Romano,
I saw that.
both
Yeah.
voices in here. And of course, they were highly involved in the Batman animated series from the early 2000s. You had John DiMaggio, outrageous, as Uncle Arthur. I should have said Kevin Michael Richardson as, is it Kamek?
Kamek comic.
Kamek?
Yeah.
Okay.
Kamek.
And then
Yeah.
Reno Romano was Uncle Tony. And then you guys, this is more up your alley,
Mm-hmm.
as Mario's dad, Charles Martinet.
Yeah. Charles Martinet was the dad, and
Martinet,
Giuseppe.
okay.
Giuseppe. It was two characters. Yeah.
Oh, really? Okay. IMDb
Mm-hmm.
has him listed as Mario's dad, but yeah. So
Yeah.
what's the link here with him?
Well, Charles Martinet is the voice of Mario.
Boom.
Starting, in the game, starting with
Mhm.
Super Mario 64, but he actually voiced the character before that when they had like a floating 3D Mario head that they would take to trade shows, and they would actually have Martinet in the background, and people could ask the questions and talk to the
Talk to
floating
Mario.
Mario head, and he would respond. And initially, I think he had a gruff Brooklyn accent, kind of like Bob Hoskins in the '93 movie, but
Nice.
that eventually morphed into its own quasi-Italian, it's a me kind of thing. And that
Yeah.
whole interactive Mario head thing, I think it ended up being a part of the influence of what you see at the beginning of Super Mario 64, where you can like interact with them that way. And that characterization and voice has stuck up until now. So they've had quite the journey in trying to figure out again how to take this an icon like a video game avatar and turn it into something that can withstand the 90 minutes of story.
And I guess I should not have left out Seth Rogen as Donkey Kong and Fred Armisen as Cranky Kong. So
Did you say Luigi?
yeah, Charlie Day.
Okay.
Yep. So I guess for you two, how was the voice performances throughout the movie?
I was, as a lot of people, I was most concerned with Chris Pratt's Mario, just because strangely felt like there was a lot riding on it. Is he gonna?
Yeah.
And not even just because it's Chris Pratt, more of like it's not Charles Martinet. A lot of people wanted Martinet to have like, well, why wouldn't you give him the shot? And there's a lot of, or to try to like take that voice, or maybe it's too much, like it'll just kind of be overkill or kind of overshadow the movie if it's that voice throughout the whole thing. So I was ended up being pleasantly surprised with that voice performance for Mario, because he is kind of like an everyman. He is kind of boring, and but he's like the hero. But then the ways that I was so impressed with the way that they were able to kind of justify and introduce and explain the It's a Me with the
Yeah.
with the plumbing commercial at the beginning, and then when they were able to throw in the more iconic game lines, it made sense. Like, oh, he got knocked on the head by Donkey Kong, and he's like halfway there, and he just repeats a line from the commercial, or at the end of the film in the climax where he's just seen the commercial and he kind of picks himself up and he repeats another line. And I love that. And I was worried because they used the more iconic lines out of context in the trailers, and it felt so off and weird to me, like it was going to be just. I did not want to hear Chris Pratt try to pretend to be Charles Martinet's Mario voice, and the trailers led me to believe that. But then in context in the movie, it was totally fine.
And I think sparingly used for some of the phrases that we all know of, like woohoo and
Yeah,
it's a me and
yeah,
all that stuff. Like they used it very sparingly. And also, I mean, yeah, if I think audiences that can sniff out, oh, you're trying too hard, which that's
yeah.
a tough line to toe for Pratt in that lead role. But I mean, I guess we'll just go there with like Mario, since I mean he's the star of the movie, and I think you put it right, of there's the most writing with him. So Steven, what do you think of Chris Pratt as Mario?
I ultimately enjoyed it. I think anyone who's familiar with film knows that he has somewhat of a voice acting pedigree. So it's not like it was his first outing.
Yeah,
I do think Charlie Day conveyed the character of Luigi better than Pratt did Mario, but together they played off each other really well. It
I
was it
agree.
was honestly the other characters that I had more of an issue with.
Okay, well then let's move on to that then, of like who are some of the other characters that maybe didn't deliver as well as you'd have hoped, imagined.
I think most people are probably in consensus that Fred Armisen as Cranky Kong seemed a little off. I mean, it's always nice to have a different take on a character, but most people are familiar with his voice from, say, the Donkey Kong Country
Mm-hmm.
series. But even like Anya Taylor-Joy as Peach and Seth Rogen as Donkey Kong, it seemed a little off. And I don't know if it was like sort of an in joke throwing a bone to the Seth Rogen fans is when he had his,
Seth Rogen
infamous
chuckle.
catchphrase. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't mind that kind of thing as much as other people. You often hear about people complaining, they're like, "Oh, I'm always taken out when a film uses, for example, the Wilhelm scream."
Mm,
But that kind of thing, that's just an Easter egg for us cinematic fans. So
yeah.
ultimately, I didn't really mind the voice acting as much as I thought it would. And if they do make a sequel, I imagine they'll hone their takes a bit more and we'll grow into it.
I thought that they practiced restraint. So I'm kind of with you on the Cranky Kong. Like to me, I can't even hear it right now, Armson's performance, because I think it kind of is forgettable. Um, I'm pretty like on it overall. I thought actually, because so Seth Rogen and Jack Black are two like very projectile performers, and
Right.
it seems like they all just got done, shooting Mountain Dew into their veins. I thought both of them though actually toned themselves down a little bit, and yeah, of course, I think it is impossible. And I haven't seen oh man, what is Meet the Fablemans? And I know Seth Rogen's in that. But otherwise, I'd say like I know it's probably impossible to have Seth Rogen in a movie and not at least once get him to have his laugh. So even when it happened as DK, it's not like it was from as soon as he entered the movie and most every time on screen there on it was just nothing but like you know what I mean. They at
Yeah.
least really toned that down, which I do
They kept it
appreciate.
to like one thing. Yeah.
Yeah, and so it's like, oh, okay, sure, that's fine. I could hear him for sure when DK finally popped up on screen, but it wasn't distracting. And I think Jack Black, I think it was surprising to me in the restraint. And I know there's moments, especially one highlight where it's definitely like, oh yeah, this is Jack Black going full Jack Black. But like,
Yeah.
I appreciate them toning both of them down, and I think it works as the characters in this movie.
Oh, I definitely think Jack Black was the standout. Him having a musical pedigree was just so appropriate for this character.
I,
And
Yeah.
I do think he at least deserves the nomination for Best Original Song.
I mean, that
I've been a
song is
long
like
time.
blown up.
Peaches, 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 peaches. Ah, oh, yeah. Oh.
that is an
Mhm.
earworm. It's been stuck in my
Yeah,
head now since I
I've
first
been
saw
a
it that
long time
Wednesday.
Jack Black fan. I like their Tenacious D music, and uh, I actually got vibes from, the Peaches song. It reminded me a bit of his F Her Gently song. I don't know if either of you are familiar.
I'm familiar.
Yeah, it sounded familiar to me. Obviously, the lyrics are completely different, but the vocal intonations and everything drew me back to that.
So I don't remember who I saw it on Twitter, but made a funny post that was like, directors, all right, Jack, we just need a little Peaches song from you. And then Jack
And then
Black,
and
and then
like
it
the gif
showed
of like
his.
the fire, like the fire, like he's writing something fire. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Like,
How did you feel, Hoss?
I looking at the cast list, yeah, like I'm like, okay, that could work or whatever. But Jack Black is such a it's easy for him to kind of to be in an interesting way, like, you know, Mario has to be muted and more of the everyman, and I didn't. But
Mhm.
and so the Chris Pratt of it all, and then compared to Jack Black, who can easily overtake everything. But then again, that's kind of Bowser's character.
Yeah.
So it's surprising and really cool to see them have some restraint, but also let him be Jack Black Bowser in a lot of spots.
Yeah.
And I felt like I don't know if it was partially his performance, but I felt like there was some voice modulation-y kind of things going on in some of the things, or they would transition him into be able to give him more of the game roars and stuff,
Yeah.
like to kind of like mesh that in and make him really feel like Bowser. And I did read some, some people felt like, oh, it's just it wasn't personality wise, it wasn't like Bowser, it was just like Jack Black or whatever. But I super disagree. Like
Yeah, I did
there are
too.
different shades of the Bowser character that you'll see in some of the games, and this kind of Bowser that has the musical numbers or the wild mood swings and things, like that's, to me, that's like Paper Mario RPG, like Bowser, where he can be kind of like a weird goofball sometimes, but also like a fearsome creature. Like it's an interesting balance for them, but I think that um I think it was really successful. And then I
Yeah.
thought Keegan-Michael Kea's Toad was absolutely amazing.
That
And
first trailer, I thought that was Charlie Day's character at first for some reason. I thought that Charlie Day hit that note, like that a little bit. I'm like, man, that sounds like Charlie Day. And actually, Keegan Michael Key was on, I think the Tonight Show, the week of the release, and he even as he's sitting there and he was talking about, I can go this high, and they're like, can you go a little bit higher? And can I go
yeah,
this high? Can I go a little higher? And like it was
yeah,
pretty amazing as he was just going up, 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 up right
yeah,
there, like in front of the camera for us to see that and how high pitched he got with everything. And I was like, wow,
yeah.
that was good. That was
And
impressive.
that is one of those where, like, in the games you just hear that high pitch, like
Yeah.
kind of Toad characters, and he kind of was able to kind of take that vibe and turn it into a full performance, and it worked really well.
Yeah. And then I mean, I've been a Charlie Day fan since I first started watching It's Always Sunny
Yeah,
back in like its, second season or something. I'll follow that guy wherever he goes. I think not a complaint. I hope there, if and when the sequel comes, there's a little bit more of him, because I do
yeah,
feel like, because for the progression of the movie and the plot and everything, he was, not pushed aside. We just weren't focused on him very much. It's like, yeah, we know where he is. We'll check back in 10 or 15
yeah,
minutes. So I
yeah.
hope I
I
get a little
definitely
bit
wanted
more of him in the
I
sequel.
wanted more Mario Brothers, but I'm glad that I was, in your first viewing, and that's where the multiple viewings do help. Whenever you see a movie like this that you're anticipating, or really, you're watching it just for the what's going to happen, what are they going to do, how's it going to resolve,
Mhm.
and I was on edge for the movie because when I first watched it, because I was like, okay, if there's not a Bowser fight, and at the end, that's going to be disappointing. If the Mario Brothers don't actually get
Yeah.
to be the Mario Brothers at the end, that's going to be disappointing. But
We got a payoff.
they were able to have a really good payoff for that, and I was
Yeah.
grateful for that.
In a movie that was chock full of excellent nods of video games. Um, I'm gonna do an impossible question here for you guys. And do you like what was your favorite part of the movie? Like favorite scene, act, like scene, yeah, like your favorite part of the movie, whatever it wants to be. Steven, are you able to answer this impossible question?
I mean, like I said, I've only seen it once. I'm definitely going to see it again, and this might change. But
Mm-hmm.
the moment that really sold me was when they had the Mario versus Donkey Kong fight. It was just really refreshing to see a hero like Mario fall again and again and again and keep getting up. And to
Yeah,
me, that's Mario's superpower is that he never gives up. So to see him finally pull through and defeat Donkey Kong and to establish that rivalry between them, that's when I knew that they really got the characters.
nice. How about you, Hoss?
Um, the thing it's kind of crazy, and for BOF people to know, like I like endings and finales. But based off my Dark Knight Rises love, but that end shot of that end scene of the movie, every single time sticks out like with the emotional resonance because it does. By the time you get to the end, you really do feel like those characters have been on a huge journey together.
Yeah,
Both of them in different ways, and to finally see them at the end, it's such a good juxtaposition between the beginning Super Mario Brothers plumbing commercial where it's kind of an idealized version of what they want their
with the
lives to be,
capes.
with the capes,
Yes.
with the Super Show cartoon
Yeah,
intro and all, to see like they were that's kind of what they wanted their life to be, and then it kind of isn't, and to go through the experience of the film to see them like still have, I guess they were able to move a lot of their belongings and rooms and stuff into the Mushroom Kingdom and see them like, oh, they get to be the Super Mario Brothers in their
yeah.
newfound home where they are heroes, where they are like appreciated. Like that was uh really, really refreshing to see.
Steven, your choice of like that end battle part, I mean, it's close. Like we definitely when Bowser's about to, to fire on Mario, and then you get Luigi jumps in with the shell, and I think they did a really good job of like emoting his face, Luigi's face blocking the fire, and then yeah, the two of them come together. Like that was close, but I can't ignore the fact that towards the beginning when they're both running there in Brooklyn to get to underneath, and it is like a direct 2D
Oh, I love
like
that.
Nintendo
Yeah.
gameplay of drop a ladder, Luigi's going up a ladder as Mario continues to
Yeah.
jump side to side like that. I smiled so freaking
And then you
big,
got
and
the flagpole and a castle at the end.
yeah, and I
Yeah.
just like, oh, I hit my lady next to me, and I go, oh my god, I love this. Like that just made me so happy, even though it looked like it was a part of a level of a game that I've played in every Mario game since
Yeah.
1989 or something like that. It was still that to me was complete bliss. But yeah, when I see it more, maybe that'll change. But as for now, that's kind of where I put it. Of like that just that hit me, and I was strapped in and ready to go. Rest of the movie, I was already happy.
I do think
Um,
that the climax of the film was about 99% perfect. And not to get too off tangent, since I want to kind of compare this to the original 93 version.
yeah.
I think the main difference is with the original film, they spent too much time trying to figure out how to get them into the other
Mm,
world, how to motivate them properly. They were very concerned with why should these two brothers really care about this girl being kidnapped? Why should they pursue her into this next world when Luigi literally just met her the same day? And, a big complaint about the first film is that they just spend too much time in our world before finally making that transition. Whereas with the new film, it's very quick. They get into the Mushroom Kingdom within 20 minutes. And I think the key difference is that the filmmakers for the Illumination version were more concerned with how do we get to the finale versus how do we get into the Mushroom Kingdom? Because that finale, it's like Brian said, it's so emotional seeing the reunion between Mario and Luigi. And I do think the brotherly bond is probably a much stronger motivation than the princess angle. So I
Hmm.
think that was really smart writing for them to
Hmm.
separate the brothers actually and develop their relationship with the princess almost as a B plot.
That's a really good point.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And I do in some of the criticisms. I mean, I know we talked. There's some criticisms on the movie. We briefly touched on at the beginning of this discussion, but they'd said about as far as story, and I disagree with that. I think it's a more simple plot. It's not going for deep emotional core to try and break you, which is fine because they know that, like, that's not exact. I don't know that that's what I would have wanted for a movie like this. I'm not saying that I need something to be stupid or anything like that, but
But it's more
like,
complex. It's more complex of a plot than any Mario game ever.
yeah,
Also,
and it's
except for the
it's
RPG stuff.
like, I don't know. I thought there was definitely enough there for us to chew on multiple things, building up relationships to the characters. And yeah, like you kind of like you said, Stephen, like the motive, like the main plot, the motivation of the plot, the motivation of Mario wasn't because of like, oh, look at this beautiful woman, I want to be with her and impress her, and so he has to lie about something. She'll eventually catch him in the lie, and then it's that sad montage. But then, it's like a trope that we'd seen. It's like, no, I'm separated from my brother, I need to get my brother, do kind of like
Mhm.
whatever I can to, like, I need to go find my brother sort of deal. And it's like, I don't know, that's a nice change up, from what this could have been, from maybe what this was going to be. A lot of people maybe could have predicted the main plot and driving force of the plot was going to be. Instead, it's the Super Mario Brothers, and that I do think that was the main focus, and the driving force of the movie. So I totally applaud that. For how much was included in this, we had a lot and a lot of nods. I mean, we're talking since what, 1985? Go back even earlier, I
Or
guess,
even
of the
earlier for
original
Don-
arcade,
Donkey Kong.
and even Donkey Kong. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a lot of stuff not included in this movie. So I guess
Mm.
what's something? Okay, let's be serious. There's
Yeah,
going
yeah,
to be
yeah.
a sequel, right? What?
Yeah.
I mean, what's something you think could be included? What's something you'd want to see included in a
Mm.
sequel?
Mm. Like,
Try to limit
so
yourself so that we don't talk for this part for another hour, because I'm sure we
yeah, yeah,
could.
yeah. There is I will say that I was incredibly surprised with the restraint that they showed in not including every Mario character ever. Like like the only ghost character you see in the game really is like King Boo at the end.
Yeah. Yeah.
I thought for sure when you see Luigi captured in the beginning, you'd just be like Ghost House. You got some Ghost House music, but you didn't see any boos or anything until the
Yep.
end. So they weren't really factored in, which is great because if they do a Luigi's Mansion spinoff or something, then that keeps it fresh for that. Um, the end credits, super spoiler, the post credit stinger,
Mm-hmm.
teasing Yoshi. Clearly, like there's one shot of Yoshi's in the movie.
And I seriously, by the end of the movie, in the credits, I'd completely forgot about it. Like
Oh,
when we saw that shot, I was like, oh, okay, so he's coming,
you
and I
see
completely forgot about him until the credits.
The Yoshi egg is on the table of wedding gifts at the end.
Oh, okay.
And so when in the first viewing, I was like, well, okay, they're showing the egg. Oh my gosh, I guess they're gonna it's the smoking gun, right? Or whatever. It's like they're gonna have to use, I guess Mario's gonna find Yoshi and use him in the climax, but he didn't. And then I was like, hey, but then they had it in
I've
the
been
post credits.
gypped.
So they set it up. So Yoshi's a big one, and some other big giant ones are like if they're going to include any of the other princesses, and clearly Wario and Waluigi. Like, how do you explain that? There's a lot there that they can dive into.
So those are some things that they could. Is there anything that he missed, Steven, that you think could also be thrown in for a sequel?
Yeah, based off of the trailer, there was a particular quote from Peach where she says, it's a big universe with a lot of galaxies, and people were very much speculating that Rosalina might appear as like an after credit scene, but she
Mm-hmm.
did not. So that definitely seems like a very good character for, if not the second part, the third part.
But
you know,
yeah,
because
but there's a Luma
it
in
seems
the
like they
movie.
do want to delve into Peach's backstory, and that seems like the appropriate way to do so.
Nice. Yeah. I mean, I can't think of something specific. I mean, it to me it seems like Yoshi when it will be in the sequel. If that's part of this credits thing, then we'll see a Yoshi of some kind. I like you, Hoss. I thought we were going some haunted mansion when Luigi was in that section there towards the beginning, and then yeah, just seeing King Boo at the end. So I'm like, ooh, there's some ghost play that we're sitting
Yeah.
on here. But I mean, we got our Rainbow Road. So we got like our Mario Kart.
Yep.
I can definitely see that'll be used somehow, in the future again. So I don't have anything new. I mean, the cat suit, which I knew
Yeah.
that was in the trailer, but that would have been the one thing I'd have been like, oh man, I wanted to see in this movie, and I saw it in this movie. So bring it back for the sequel. Why not?
Yeah.
I'd love to have
Yeah,
more.
like surprisingly, I was surprised that you don't see Mario get the classic, fire flower power up in the movie. I was very surprised.
Yeah.
Like you see Donkey Kong and Peach use it, but you don't actually see Mario get to throw the fireballs.
That was
and
always my
I was
favorite.
pretty surprised that they.
It might
didn't
still
do
be
that.
my favorite of all power-ups is fire thrower.
Mm-hmm.
But what do you guys think? So it seems like it's a given there will be a sequel. But say Nintendo and Illumination are very happy with their partnership, and they're like, let's get another video game adaptation from your archives. I think there's an obvious choice, but I want to hear you guys. And I know
on what's next?
Step outside of Mario. What do you think that they would explore next?
I mean, Mario and Zelda are their top two.
Yeah.
Zelda would be the clear next thing for them to do, just in the pecking order of things and the things that kind of deserve and need that. Mario was a huge risk and a huge gamble, and it's paying off for them. So Zelda would even be trickier in a lot of ways because Zelda is all about, it's way more story focused, and every Zelda entry fits into a timeline and everything. And so if you make a Zelda movie, there would be an expectation where it would be part of an ongoing narrative, and aside other things, not like this movie is. But but they've got a lot of franchises that would go in there. You saw we have there was a nod to Star Fox with an R-wing in Mario's room at the beginning of the movie, so Star Fox would be great. Metroid, those are my top three new ones. Would be a Star Fox, Metroid, and Zelda. This would be what I would want to see next.
What about you, Steven?
Well, if they stick within that main Mario universe, I think a Donkey Kong film would do really well. Particularly if it's more of a prequel where they can delve more into Donkey Kong's relationship with his father. But like Ryan said, I do think Star Fox is probably the most appropriate because it has an established storyline that's not too complicated. It's not like Legend of Zelda with, the different timelines. And people are very concerned about adapting the Link because he's such a silent character.
Right.
People have become more accustomed to Mario emoting, pantomiming, and even speaking, but Link is much more minimalistic in that regard.
Yeah, I think that for me would be the obvious choice. Kind of Haas, as you had already referenced, Wario and Waluigi. I think those characters, I know there were Wario games in the past. I think if you include them, you include them in a Mario Brothers movie. I don't think you launch them on their own. I think Zelda's
the spin-offs would be like you would either do Mario Brothers movie 2, you could do a Donkey Kong spin-off or a Luigi's Mansion spin-off is what was the
I feel like this would be a cash cow move, but because it's so popular, I wouldn't be surprised. This isn't what I'd want, but I wouldn't be surprised if they did something with Animal Crossing. I just know it's just massively popular, but I hope that it doesn't seem like they're ones that are cash cows though. I think they're very protective of their franchises. So I don't feel like, but I also wouldn't necessarily be surprised.
I don't feel like they're gonna super fast track anything just because this movie's super successful. I feel like they'll take their time. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, as we wrap up, then I want to hear any final thoughts that you guys have on the movie itself, anything you haven't said that you'd kind of want to drill home a little bit more? Either one of you want to start first?
I'll let Steven go first.
Yeah, Steven, go first. Pressure's on.
Definitely pressure. I have so many thoughts about the film,
So
and
many.
Yeah. Well,
Like-
this isn't I mean, me and Steven will do our own YouTube video.
I was gonna say we'll tee that up next of like
yeah.
how you guys are gonna go even further
Yeah.
in the discussion.
So I guess as part of this, you can kind of tee that up too, Steven.
Yeah, we're definitely going to have to compare the two films because it does seem like narratively there's about 95% similar plot beats,
Yeah.
uh, which just goes to show you how simplistic the games are, is
Yeah.
what people expect. And I think that demonstrates that the two films are just about equally good in their own ways as adaptations. Yeah, the new film is more visually faithful, but I don't think that's necessarily as important as getting the characterizations and narrative as important, right? Which the original, for me, it did do. It really
Absolutely.
captured that brotherly relationship between Hoskins Mario and like Leguizamo's Luigi. And
Mm-hmm.
people are praising Anya Taylor-Joy's Peach for being much more assertive. She's a royal who actually does something. And that's something that the original film was attempting as well. They really
Yeah.
wanted Daisy to not just be you know, someone who's sitting idly by in a tower waiting for Mario and Luigi to come rescue her. She almost even rescues herself, and Mario and Luigi just come across her. I do think that the sequel will have a lot of directions it can potentially go in, and it'll only mirror the original '93 version even more, especially what with Yoshi being introduced and potentially Dinosaur Land. It's going to be hard to avoid those comparisons.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Not just Yoshi, but if they introduce Yoshi as part of Dinosaur Land, then there will be definitely more. You're totally right.
So Haas, what's your final thoughts on
Yeah,
this version then, this movie?
Like what I wasn't expecting with this film that I feel like is kind of a good nugget of why it's kind of connecting with audiences so well, that for a lot of the people that are so amped for this movie, it's like they've been, 1993 movie aside, it's you've been playing the games for years and you've been pouring yourself into playing as these icons, these avatars, and you're kind of making your own story. But as characters, you don't really know them. You just know what you've put into them. And so this is like, in the first time in 30 years, been the officially sanctioned story of where you actually get to see them go on a journey. So, but you yourself are bringing your lifetime of experience playing the games into that, and kind of learning about them through the movie with your own experience. And that's kind of like a gigantic first in terms of like a Nintendo thing. And for us as comic book fans, that's been something we've been used to a lot. Like we read Batman comics and then we get to see that kind of projected on screen in its own new story. But watching this Mario movie has been like, the emotional response I keep mentioning that I felt towards the climax in the end, it feels like weirdly, in a weird way, like your own story. Like I want them to get to the end, because when I play the games, I want to get to the end. And so it's a kind of a really interesting thing going on there, that I think is kind of key to some of the success, and something that's been really surprisingly oblivious to a lot of the critical reviews I've seen. Me and Steven, we've been like, it's been crazy on the Super Mario Archive Twitter in the last week with all these reviews and all the reactions, because a lot of the reviews just seem to be written like they could have been written in 1993. Like these reviews have been like explaining what video games are and what a Bowser is, where it's like, hey, we know Mario's been around
I'm aware
a long time at this point, but the reviews are just like trying to be like, this is a movie based on a video game, and they don't know how to really articulate it. And so it feels like the movie is definitely capturing something that is a little bit beyond what the reviews can tear down in a way, and it's been really fascinating to see. I mean, clearly people, it's like the Back to the Future thing. It's like your kids, you don't understand this, but your kids are going to love it. 1993 movie came out. The kid, a lot of the kids that saw it did enjoy it, but it wasn't ready. It was ahead of its time. It's almost an interesting, like, boy, what could have maybe what would have been if these films could have swapped places? It almost feels like people would have been ready now for like a dystopian cyberpunk Mario reinterpretation versus a more straightforward one back in the 90s. But we got the opposite. So it's been really fascinating to see.
Straightforward. So that word pops out to me because I think this movie actually is kind of straightforward, and I mean that as a compliment. And why I think so many people are embracing it and having fun with it is because it's just like pure joy.
Yeah, absolutely.
People are going to the movie because they want to see Mario, and I think you are just flat out dropped in Mario land and just get to just be absorbed in Mario world for an hour and a half. And I don't think we want. I can't. There is, of course, sometimes like the new car smell can wear off after maybe 15 or 20 minutes, but I think that the movie just kind of keeps bringing you more fun beats, more fun moments, and while keeping that main narrative around of the reason that we're even here is because he's in search of his brother, because it's the Super Mario Brothers. So I don't think it's too simple. It's lacking plot. I think it's just a lot of fun, and it's giving fans of young and old what they want in a Mario movie. So if somebody's listening now and they haven't seen it yet, I don't think that we haven't spoiled the movie. There's too much good little nuggets and moments in the movie that we didn't spoil it. So I highly recommend, unless I guess if you're a complete hater of Nintendo and Mario, I don't know if you'd enjoy it then.
Right.
But I mean, otherwise, I think to an extent you'll know what you're going to get, but you'll still be surprised in the process. So a lot of fun. It's going to be really fun to follow it probably over the next month and a half to see how much more this movie explodes, and where it ends up in the long run. And then, as we've already kind of said, how long until the sequel's announced. So, so we'll see. I think that's probably about where we'll go to the home menu and power down. But I'm Chad. So thanks both of you gents. Steven, thanks for dropping in and blessing us with some of your Mario expertise. I'll let you start off first and plug away anything and everything that you want to.
Yeah, no problem. It's always a pleasure to talk about the film, and it's never been a better time to be a fan. I mean, people assume that we would probably be bitter or resentful of the new movie, but that's far from true. We love both of them, and I think it'll only, shine more of a light on the original, and that's good for us. But yeah, I primarily promote the original 93 film on Twitter, SMB Movie. We also relaunched a Facebook group. We had a long time page, but for whatever reason, Facebook had deleted it, and we don't know why. But we relaunched a new group page, Super Mario Brothers, the movie, 1993. So if you want to discuss the film or even the new film, we're open to that. Feel free to join us. And there's also our main website, smbmovie.com, where we do a lot of promotion of upcoming screening events, Blu-ray releases, and even our upcoming art book, things that we hope everyone is going to be excited for.
Excellent. Hoss, have at it.
Yeah, Steven's got the big stuff there. I would also plug obviously y'all know you can follow me on Twitter at smb_Ryan. But our Super Mario Brothers Movie Archive YouTube channel is youtube.com/SMB Movie Archive. That takes you right to our page, and we've got tons of stuff on there from the 93 movie and a lot of our 4K trailer restorations and deleted scene commentaries from things we've done. Me and Steven we have also under our live tab, we've got a teaser trailer reaction for the new Super Mario Brothers movie. And as we kind of talked about a little bit earlier, we'll definitely be doing at some point a longer video for our YouTube channel, kind of breaking the movie down and really kind of dissecting the comparisons to the 93 movie, because there's a surprising number of them past beyond the surface.
That'll be fun to watch and listen to, because though it's been a while since I've seen that 93 movie, but you can bet I wore that VHS tape out as a kid, constantly watch, rewind. So yeah, I'll be looking forward to that. As for my stuff, batman-on-film.com, recent reviews of the Batman title, past reviews of Batman title, Sean Murphy's Beyond the White Knight, podcast episodes, all sorts of posts. And then, of course, there's my podcast, which Bill generously posts on the website, The Batman Book Club. Follow it on Twitter at The Batman BC. So, for Steven and Ryan, I am Ryan, and we will let announcer Rachel take us out. Woohoo!
You've been listening to the Batman on Film Satellite Show, BOF's non-Batman pop culture podcast. Follow the show on Twitter at BOF Show. Follow BOF on Twitter at The Batman on Film. For all of Team BOF, I'm announcer Rachel. Authoritative, definitive, the original Batman on Film, established in 1998.
Game over!